At the Pentagon this afternoon, I saw General Milley and Secretary Austin. And I want to ask you about General Milley. Of course, I was taken aback big time when he apologized for that walk across the street with you. The apology seemed to be very inappropriate. Now I'm reading some of these books from some journalists down there in Washington, D.C. There are a lot of problems in these books. But one thing that comes through, General Milley may have been actively working to sabotage your administration. It comes through. He was not working very well. He may have been colluding with the Democrats. Did you have that sense?
So he was recommended by people that I didn't think much of. And he was also recommended by a couple of people and, that I thought were just absolutely terrible. And I decided, and Mattis, I call him the world's most overrated general. Mattis hated him. I figured, based on the fact that I thought very little of Mattis. We did a great job without Mattis. Once I got rid of Mattis, we took over. We knocked out ISIS and everything else. I said, if he hates Milley that much, maybe the guy will be all right. That's the one that a lot of people were recommending, but a lot of people didn't like him at the time. And I found him to be very average or less than average. I will say this. When he walked with the President of the United States to a church that had been burned down almost, if they didn't have the fireproofing, which was just put up. It was literally so amazing because that church was built at the same time as the White House. They went up together. And when he went and took that walk, and then he apologized because the radical left started getting on him, I realized I had a loser. And I paid very little respect to him. He wasn't very good. So I am not a fan of his. I realized somewhere during the period, and he was highly recommended by, not highly, he was recommended sort of the next guy in there. But in retrospect, I would not have made that decision again. And look at what he's done. He took the military out before he got the civilians out and before he got U.S. citizens out. So that would show gross incompetence. And I don't know your Secretary of Defense, but certainly based on what we're seeing right here, this is the single greatest embarrassment, in my opinion, militarily and otherwise, psychologically, certainly. This is the single greatest embarrassment I've ever seen.
It's amazing.
I don't think we've ever had a greater embarrassment in our country's history.
I can't think of anything. I really can't. I mean, the fiasco in the desert when we tried to get the hostages was bad, but this tops that. The media.
Well, they potentially, Greg, if you think about it, they potentially have 40,000 hostages. With Jimmy Carter, it was a small number. That was a terrible thing, but that was a small number of people. They have, I've heard numbers as high as 40,000, it may be 10,000, but I've heard numbers as high as 40,000. And that doesn't include Afghans that helped us, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll have to see what happens. Now, I know the leadership because, I got criticized because they said, he shouldn't be speaking to the head of Taliban. Well, who am I going to speak to? That's the right guy. And I let him know, don't do this, don't do that. I got Abdul. I said, how are we doing, Abdul? We had a very good conversation, but I let him know very strongly what would happen.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.